Hi, Jeff here from GCD Property, and we're just commenting on a recent article written by Leanne Jobson from Metropole. So Metropole are long-term property advisors, seeing lots of different markets. And they're commenting on the current really dire rental shortage accommodation in Australia. And the article heading says it all really. Australians experience the fastest annual increase in rental prices on record. Now, we've all heard many stories about people trying to get their rental properties, very disappointed, lots of queues looking for properties to rent, and it's really seen an effect on our rental price income, which is great news for property investors. So some of the key takeaways from this report is Australia's seen the steepest annual rental increase on record, and that figure has been 14.6% rental income increase for houses and 17.6% for units right across the combined capital cities. And we're seeing now a real shortage of rental accommodation. We're seeing vacancy rates at the lowest levels on record. Vacancy rates in many areas are under 2%, which is well below a tight rental market considered around at 3%. And a lot of this is due to the interstate migration that we've seen in the year 2022. And now we're starting to have other external factors with this international migration starting to come back into Australia as our international borders are starting to open up. So we're seeing lots of immigration from tourism, been very strong over the last 3 to 4 months. And we're also starting to see overseas migrants from students looking to continue their education in Australia. The great thing about Australia has it got a very good reputation for education. And now we're starting to see those international students come back into Australia, which is going to add another layer of demand on our rental property prices. Of course, this is great news for those of us that are property investors and have rental properties, because this extra demand is going to lead to higher rents. Those higher rents are going to help offset the increase in what we've faced in interest rates over the last several months. So we're looking at now the combined capital cities and regional areas to see how effect that's had on the market here. And we're seeing Sydney seeing rental increase of 12.1% for the last 12 months, Melbourne 7.9%, and Brisbane 14.6%, which is huge. Fastest increase in rental prices on record. We are starting to see a bit of stabilisation now, more properties listed for rent. It's starting to ease up the situation. The growth has started to slow down, but very strong. And with this forecast international migration coming to Australia, that's just going to put more pressure on our rental prices. And with the real news is we're simply not building enough new accommodation to satisfy this international population growth. So going forward for property investors, that's a great factor to have. So we have seen a lot of strong growth right across the capital cities and regional areas as well. What I think from this report is going to show is that there is going to be some changes over the next few years. Those areas where international migrants tend to attracted to the major capital cities, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, they will see strong international migration. Some of those regional areas won't have that same effect from that strong population growth. So again, great news for property investors, great insights from the report here, and look forward to a successful 2023.